Let's talk about the Jaguars.
Which projected out actually way better than I expected, Truth.
The Jags?
Yeah.
You got Trevor Lawrence projected as your QB 15, but you got him 20. You got him 20 on the big board though, so it's another of those where you're like, yeah. I mean, there's a certain type of guy that is that way for you. Like, here's guys that I talked about yesterday that fell into that same category: David Montgomery, Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, T. Higgins, Chase Claypool, guys where you're just like, I don't know. There's a couple other guys that we haven't gotten to yet that I will bring up that you have your biggest discrepancy on the whole thing. We haven't gotten to yet, and he's the biggest example of this on the whole thing.
It's not Diggs, right? Because I fixed
No. You fixed Diggs. I was dangling that one over your head before, but not anymore. No, there's one much bigger than Diggs. All right. Okay. Anyway, we're getting into it now. Last team in the AFC South. Just a train wreck of a division. Let's talk about the Jaguars, who, as you know, are on the short list of teams that I will never trust in any sense until I see it.
Yeah, and I think that is largely fair. Doug Peterson coming, I think, is going to be a huge boost if Trevor Lawrence is anything decent. And remember, we're just like a year removed from him being the next Peyton Manning and the can't miss prospect and never lost a game for however long of his career. So I'm not going to give up on him yet. I think there is something to be tapped into here with Trevor Lawrence. And I think Doug Peterson, he fizzled out a little bit with the Eagles at the end there. But for a long stretch, he was considered one of the best offensive minds in the game. I think Frank Reich was a huge part of that offensive staff. But I think compared to Urban Meyer, like this is just a night and day situation.
Yeah. I mean, he was such a hyped prospect coming out. I mean, he was like a hyped prospect on the level of, like, we've only seen a couple guys like that coming out. John Elway, Andrew Luck, like that sort of hype. And I'm not willing to dismiss him either after that train wreck of a season. I'm not. I was very confident that he would fail like last year when he came.
Yeah,
I saw the situation. And I was just like, there's no way this guy's coming into Jacksonville with this idiot running the show and is going to be like what people are expecting to be. I just I would have bet everything I had on him doing pretty much what he did. So I'm interested to see if there's a big change, because I mean there's so many people that just think he's such an incredible talent. There's got to be something there.
Absolutely. And I think he's going to huck it 640 times. As you can see, it's going to be
towards the top
of the league. 60% pass rate, one of the biggest rates in the league, because the defense is going to suck. And historically, that's been a Doug Peterson offense. They've chucked it around 60% of the time. So I think that's all good news for him. 24 touchdowns and 16 ints doesn't seem unreasonable. 4,500 yards doesn't seem that unreasonable. Based on last year's numbers, those seem like ridiculous, but for a prospect of his nature, that's certainly attainable. And I think the big thing with him is he's athletic. We saw, I think that Thursday night football game is still kind of stuck in my head where he was running all over the field. And he is athletic. He can certainly score in the red zone. So 3-10-3, just a nice little boost, a nice little, not quite Konami level, but a good boost. So I'm a big fan of Trevor Lawrence. How he's going to distribute the work, I have no idea. I'm not in on any of these pass catchers, to be honest.
Gary W. says that Christian Kirk's going to go off this year. He says he's going to be a solid wide receiver 2 in fantasy. The Jags blow.
And I
agree with you on the last thing, Gary.
And if you're following the money, I mean, he should be a top 5 fantasy receiver, right? So, I get it, but I'm not a big Kirk guy. I think that was one of the worst contracts of all time. And Doug Peterson never had a single 1,000-yard receiver his entire time with the Eagles. Now, he didn't have many great talents, but he did have like Alshon Jeffrey and a couple guys that were on their back nine, but still had big seasons in their past.
Does Alshon Jeffrey still play in the NFL?
No, not anymore. That was like a few years back.
No, but I was just wondering if he was still in the league.
No, he's been long out.
Really?
I think at least, as far as I know. I know he was the one that he was nasty for a couple.
He was good for like 2 years.
Really good for a couple of years under Mark Trestman. Remember those days?
Yeah, I do remember those days. I didn't realize Marvin Jones was on the Jags.
Yeah. Well, he was there last year, and he's been.
Well, that shows how little of an impression he made on me, because he's literally been on the team for 2 years.
Yeah, he was there last year, maybe even 2 years now, but he didn't do much last year. He's one of those guys that, again, like he'll produce a few big ones, but ultimately, I don't think it's going to be anything steady for you. I mean, if a receiver is going to pan out, it would be Kirk because the money. Laviska Shenault, no more. I was way too overhyped on him last year.
I was number 1 on the reality check for the Laviska Shenault.
Yeah, you were. I'll give you that one. Yeah, that was a really bad call.
That felt like an easy call.
It's gross. All these are gross. I don't have any receiver getting above 20% target share, and 109 targets for Kirk is the most. I guess who I am interested in are the two other positions. One, Evan Ingram as a sleeper tight end. We've routinely seen Doug Peterson pepper his tight ends. And now Zach Ertz was an elite talent for a long time. Talent dictates targets. I get that. But Evan Ingram, has one of the most impressive athletic profiles. He had one of the best rookie years we've ever seen. And he's just kind of struggled with injuries since then. And could he again this year? He probably will. But if he does stay healthy, he probably will see 100 targets, catch, about 60% of them because he has stone hands. And he's very athletic to do some damage with it to get 700, 6, and 4. That has him finishing in my top 10 tight ends. As a lot of factors have to go right for him to hit that. But I'm a believer in the way that Peterson uses the tight ends creatively and voluminous, whatever the word. You know what I'm going for.
Yeah, but I don't. I know that you pronounced it funny, but I don't know what the correct pronunciation is, so I can't really call you out on it too bad.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You've got Ingram projected as your number 15 guy, and you got him 16 on the big board. Honestly, the numbers you're talking about with the targets, I came in here prepared to just laugh at you for your Evan Ingram take, and it's really not that crazy when you put it that way.
Right? Like, I don't know. Just it seemed, and the funny thing is I posted it on Twitter. Evan Ingram was going to see 100 targets and no one cares.
Yeah, you did.
It was very, very polarizing. Like, half were like, you're sure as hell right. I don't care. Fuck Evan Ingram. He's the worst player that's ever existed. And then there was a lot of people that like, he's just got to get the right chance. He's going to blow up this year. So he is one of the most polarizing fantasy players. I did not expect that type of reaction.
He's been a guy that people have tried to believe in just about every year. They're chasing that buzz like we talked about. And
he typically has disappointed. I guess one of the biggest differences with this year is he goes around like 16 now. So you're really not taking on too much risk.
Okay.
There's really not that, especially if you're looking for a tight end that late. There's very few people with the target upside that Evan Ingram has at that stage of your draft if you need a tight end that late. So I'll go him over Hayden Hurst or some of these other guys we've been talking about. Like, he could be their number one passing option after Christian Kirk. The other big guy is, of course, Travis Etienne. And, I mean, he is fantasy darling number one right now. No kidding. And as a player coming out, he was amazing. But people are tweeting today, like, I'd rather have Etienne than Joe Mixon. And it's just like, you're fucking psycho. How could you say this? This guy is on a crap team, hasn't played a down in the NFL. And like, we don't know if he's going to ever be the explosive guy we saw in college after a pretty bad injury. Who could ever consider that?
That's nuts. That's completely nuts.
Insanity. Moreover, Doug Peterson has never had a good, steady running back in his entire career. He didn't have a lot of great talent, but he had like Sproles and Ryan Matthews, and one was catching, there's never a 3-down horse. And I think a lot of people are coming in saying Travis Etienne is just going to be a 3-down horse. Now, maybe if James Robinson's hurt, and it starts the year on the PUP, and you're going to get 6 games of Travis Etienne of just workhorse, and maybe he's talented to then just dictate that's the way it goes the rest of the year. That wouldn't shock me. I've seen a lot of DeAndre Swift comparisons, like very explosive, very efficient, bad team will overcome it because of how talented he is. I'm not even against that. It's just the extreme of ranking him in like round 2 above Mixon is what are we doing? So he comes out in like my top 20 running backs. He's going as a top 10 guy right now, a top 15 guy, above Zeke, above, a lot of guys that I just laugh at. Like, come on. I had taken him a lot in early drafts when he was going at like pick 60 before people started to wake up to the fact that like he's a really good player that could do a lot of damage with minimal work. But now that he's going in round 3, like I was getting in round 5, round 6 all day, but round 3, no, thank you. There's running backs I will gladly take ahead of him every single time.
Right, and that's going to do it for the AFC South. I will just tell you for the Jags, the guy I really want to do well is Snoop Connor.
What a great name.
Huh? I mean, I just want to be pulling for that guy. I want to be picking Snoop Connor up off waivers at some point. Let's rank this shit pile of teams 1 to 4.
Colts clear 1, Titans a clear 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, just tit wrestling in the mud for number
Slap
3.
Fest between the 3 and
4. Who knows for those bottom 2? I would say Jags then Texans. I guess I believe in Doug Peterson a little bit more. than I do Lovie Smith. At this
I got them ranked in the same order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, just hideousness. And as we move to the next division, folks, if you guys like what you're hearing, please do consider giving us that thumbs up button, helping us to continue to grow, continue to spread the RSJ love. It is so greatly appreciated. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.